Welcome to the Rugby League Outsiders Set of Six, our weekly news show where we share the good, the great and the noteworthy of Rugby League outside the heartlands. My name's Craig.
And my name's Karl, and on this week's show, Cardiff and London played out an absolute thriller in the Women's Championship. Ryan Hall's brought up the 500 and there's another chairman bringing the game into disrepute.
Right, Carl, this is the day that we've been waiting for. We love banging out our set of six short, stern words at the intro there.
Well, it's true, isn't it? I mean, it was an absolute shocking statement, that, and I think even St Helens fans will agree with you. Just a bit of a tee up there where we're going to go with that one.
Well, we're going to get into that and many more interesting news stories. We're going to start with a major milestone for a true start of the game. A player that represents the name of the club better than anybody else, and it's Ryan the Rhino Hall, an absolute rhino on the wing.
Ryan the Rhino, yeah, you nailed that, mate. Yeah, Ryan Hall brought up his 500th appearance in the Super League. And what a player he's been. I mean, and to hear him speak after the game as well, I thought it was incredibly professional. I know that in what we're going to on this, but I thought it was incredibly professional, very humble, and he's just an all-round likeable guy, isn't he?
He is, and you know, whenever you listen to like his former teammates at Leeds talking about, you know, those dizzy days of, you know, when Leeds are at the top of the game, and they always sort of pitched Ryan Hall as like a bit of an oddball. I was going to say weirdo, not weirdo, but like a bit of an oddball. He's not your typical player, and his statements. You're right. His statements at the end of the game were not your typical statements from a rugby league player. Now we're going to dive right into those at the end of the show, the Williams Weekly. So make sure you stick around for that. We're going to really go into what he said there. But yeah, still banging out incredible performances. His highlight reel, you know, if you go back through the years and some of the tries he scored, most memorable Ryan Hall try.
It was the last game of the season.
Yeah, I know exactly what you said.
Was it for the League Leaders Shield? I think it was against Huddersfield.
Yeah,
and he scored near the death.
Well, it was 9 seconds.
I think it's most memorable just because you could see the emotion on his face as he scored that try. And who says that League Leaders Shield don't mean anything to anybody? Yeah, clearly did, didn't it?
Yeah, Danny Maguire, just like 9 seconds, little chip over. Just thought, you know, it never comes off. It never comes off, you know what I mean? He thought, well, it's all we've got left. Chipped over, Ryan Hall collects, bang, straight down the line, scored. The helicopter had to turn around in the air.
Allegedly. Did we really have a helicopter in the air?
Well, who knows? Yeah. There was a bit more money in the game back then compared to what it is right now. More on that later on. Anyway, so Karl, we both agree Ryan Hall has been an amazing ambassador for the sport and continues. Now, he's hinted as well that if they play in Vegas next year, if he's good enough to be picked, then he's going to get his boots out and he wants to play in that game.
Well, I think he'll be there next year anyway. What is he on? How many seasons has he played?
No. This is like, it was supposed to be his farewell season, like one season left.
How many seasons has he played? Can you remember?
I don't know.
He's on an odd number. I'm sure he's on an odd number. And I'm sure a couple of years ago, I'm sure he said, yeah, well, no one finishes on an odd number.
Yeah, maybe if he is a little bit superstitious and, he's got some of those rules. I know he's got some like rules about his socks and, you know, all sorts of different stuff. So maybe he
knows how to do a Rubik's Cube and play the piano and all sorts, doesn't he? I really like how Ryan Hall's adapted his game over the years because there aren't many players that can still play on the wing at that sort of age, really. I mean, he used to have the speed, didn't he, when he was a lot younger, and that was the main part of his game. And to be fair to him, he's just got bigger, hasn't he? He's like beefed up, got bigger and bigger. Now he's like, he's almost like developed like this Leslie Vinacolo persona now, where he literally just barges people out of the way, doesn't he? So yeah, a stellar career, I think, and he should be applauded for it.
Yeah, and I think, it's not just the finishing, not just the tries. People often talk about that first, second carry that he gets involved in, bringing it off the back line. And I know, he takes a couple of those drives and he's literally like blowing out of his. I love watching him now because he's hands on his thighs and he's like sucking in the Billy Big ones and trying to get some air into his lungs. But he's just a threat.
Well, I think we were looking at the top meters made last year, and at some point in the season last year was like the top yardage carrier in Super League for a number of weeks. So yeah, his work ethic is second to none in it.
Right. The next thing then would in regards to Ryan Hall, the header. Knock on
the knock on. Try? Yeah, the knock on.
What are you calling it a knock on? You think it's a knock on?
Do you know what? I have done some proper digging, and I've looked into the law. Yeah, the laws of the game, me and AI, and it says that it's not a knock on. But I could have swore that the laws of the game said if ball comes off your head, it's a knock on.
Right. I think the rules are you're not allowed to play the ball on using your head, as in intentionally
a deliberate header.
Header it forward. Now, from that clip there, like it just seemed like he went for the catch, lost sight of the ball, lost control of the ball, whatever. It bounced off his head. He didn't know, and went forward, and then from which he then, so
on a technicality,
young Sinfield scored. So whether it was a knock on or not, it don't matter. I'm a Leeds fan, so I'm not going to challenge it. You know what I mean? I'll suck the try up. Easy. But yeah, there was a bit of call as to whether it was a knock on or not.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know really much more to say on it. I initially thought it was a knock on, and I was like, I'm sure that's a knock on. Like frantically searching around to see if anybody else agreed with me. There were some comments definitely said that is a knock on. But like I say, I've searched today, and well, AI says not. So an AI rules the world these days, doesn't it? So it can't be.
Right, so in the spirit of appearances, Karl, I did a little bit of digging, right, on the Rugby League Records website, and I found like the all-time highest number of appearances. And I just thought I'm going to throw this out and just ask you what you think. I'm not going to ask you who you think it is. In fact, shall I want me to tell you who it is? It'll give you an idea of the era. Or should we just go in cold and then we'll put a bit of meat on the bones as we go along?
We'll go in cold and then we'll see.
Right, okay, so what do you think the number? So Ryan Hall's 500, mega. But, if you think back to the old days,
then like
the 2 or 3 games a week
like
sometimes.
The 50s, they used to play like, I'm going to get this wrong, there'll be some stat up, but I'm sure they used to play like 100 games a season or something like that. Like, you used to play ridiculous amounts of games.
Yeah, okay, so what do you think it is? The all-time, according to...
All-time appearance...
all competitions, yeah.
1,100.
1,100. Yeah, pretty close. 928 by Jim Sullivan of Wigan. Right, so between 1921 and 1946, right, as a fullback, the Welshman debuted for Wigan aged 17, going on to kick 2,867 goals in a 25-year career. Can you believe that?
Wow.
Yeah,
I'm quite impressed with you. I'd say I'm impressed with your knowledge. You've looked it up, but
I completely ripped it off the website.
Yeah.
But it's just it's
it's an interesting. I mean, no player will ever reach that ever again, will there?
I can't imagine.
No, there won't. I mean, there's no way it's physically possible. We don't play that many games in a season. We'll never go back to playing that many games in a season.
Just because of like protocols and
protocols, safety. It's just the professional athletes now out there. So it will hold that record forever.
Yeah. Right, moving on. We've got a little bit of an announcement. We are supporting a local girl from Bradford who is aiming to break the world record for not only the youngest female, but the fastest female to run from John O'Groats to Land's End this June. Okay, so we're going to be there supporting it. Karl, a couple of comments on it.
She's an absolute inspiration to young people out there. Yeah, 20 years old, aiming to run the length of the country in 20 days. She's raising money for defibs up and down the country, so such a great cause. She's already the world record holder for the most chest to floor burpees in 24 hours. She's an inspiration, and we'll bring you a lot more on her as well.
So the reason why I'm telling you this is because if you're a player, you're a coach, you're involved in a club, ask yourself, do you have a defib at your club? right? Now, they're quite expensive bits of equipment, but essential, especially because more and more young people are having heart effects and losing their life, which is a sad reality. Anyway, she's running a raffle where your club can enter to win one of these defibs. The basic premise is she's going to run from one end of the country to the other, and she's going to deliver 20 defibs along the way. Now, in order to get one of these defibs, you've got to be in the raffle. We're going to post details of this later on. But if that's something that your club needs and you want to get involved with, then and this girl's she's got allegiances to rugby league. You know, she's done some work with Bradford Bulls in the past.
Yeah, I suppose we haven't given her name out, have we? You can find her on Instagram at @EllieHorrocks04, and I promise you, if nothing else, you'll be inspired by this girl.
In summary, if you want a defib for your club for the price of a raffle ticket, then check it out, and as more details will emerge. Right, tackle number 2. Now, is this honest chat or is it a little bit of short-term memory? Never write off this chairman from making a controversial statement about the sport. It's that Eamon McManus statement, Cal.
Yeah, I saw this on, I can't remember what day it was announced, like Thursday. It was before one of the Super League games out. Eamon McManus put a statement out on the St Helens website, backing Nigel Wood. Absolutely fine, got no issue with that. It was the wording he used in the statement and how damning it was of the game, and I thought it was really unprofessional, and I didn't think that kind of statement needed to be put out in the public domain. And you take what Matt Peet said in his interview after, and Matt Peet nailed it. He was basically like, yeah, we need to strive for improvement and all the rest of it, but it's not about your own personal agenda, and these things should be done behind closed doors. It's not about who can score the most points. This was all about scoring points. This Eamon McManus statement, I thought it was damning, and I thought it brought the game into disrepute. If any sponsors are watching the sport and they're reading stuff like this coming out from one of the chairmen, it's not going to attract anybody to the sport. I thought it was terrible.
I thought when I first read it, I thought. First of all, I was shocked, that someone had been so transparent, and then as you sort of get down into it, I was like, this is cutting a little bit deep now.
I'm going to right, transparent. Okay, fair enough. I'll give you that. But he's got a short memory, because he was one of the people who actually made a statement similar to this years ago, wanting Nigel Wood out of the sport. I'm pretty sure he was. I've seen snippets. So for him to 100% be throwing his weight behind Nigel Wood after he was one of the chairmen that wanted him out of the sport was another thing that shocked me, reading how strongly worded this statement was.
I mean, I'd love to get the opinion of like a Saints fan and like what this has done for their thoughts of the game right now. If the guy that's at the top of their team, who's quite influential he's influential across the whole sport, isn't he? And he's made these which are really damning, like you say. Like, what effect has that had on them? Being involved and following the sport. And
Eamon McManus he's been brilliant for this sport, and St Helens, he's done such a great job. You can never take that away from him. But I saw comments from a lot of Saints fans, I mean, I'm speaking for all of them here, who basically were quite embarrassed by that statement. I just didn't think it needed to go out in the public domain. And actually, you tell me what's actually been achieved from that.
I don't know, maybe it was played a part in because what we're going to talk about later on in the Williams Weekly is Matt Peet's statement, the way Ryan Orr spoke about it, the way that the pundits on Sky are starting to talk about it a little bit, and people are kind of checking their behaviour. Maybe this was like the bottom of this is the bottom row. Hang on, we've got to move on from here, because it's getting, everyone's piling on, everyone's throwing the boot in on the floor, and this was like the mark. Right, no, we can't get any worse. We cannot allow the perception of our sport to get any worse than this, and everyone else then check their behaviour. I think that might be the only thing good to come out of that statement.
Yeah, you're probably right there, but that doesn't make this statement right, in my opinion. I'll go back to what I've just said. There could be sponsors looking at the sport. It just, from one of the chairmen of the clubs, it just wasn't a good statement. And I've got nothing against the putting their opinions sort of out there, but word it a bit better. Don't be throwing people under the bus. It just, I found it quite unprofessional.
And also, you got to ask about like where it was posted. Like it was an official news story on the Saints website.
Yeah.
And if it was his own personal Twitter or his own personal social media, the like of which like Derek Beaumont may do, you know what I mean? That's almost a little bit of separation from the club. Yes, he's a representative of the club, but this is like published by the club. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like...
I'll give you another example of a good statement. Actually, very similar statement, and we had him on the show last week. Andy Maisie was on the show last week. Yeah, he put his weight behind Nigel Wood. He said he wanted what was happening to happen in a very professional manner. Rochdale put out a statement on their website, very similar to what Andy said on our show, really. But it was so much more professional than what St Helens put out. And what Saints put out was just a load of mudslinging, I thought, and it just thought it was uncalled for. That's my opinion on it.
Yeah, okay, and everybody is entitled to their opinion, including Eamon McManus. So some of you may agree. What I do want to know, though, is what's your take on this? Stick it in the comments down below. Good, bad, indifferent, you know what I mean? Was it refreshing? Was it damning? You know, really want to get the comments going to get the general feel for this situation.
Yeah, we'll reply to them as well. I've got no. If people disagree with me, I'm more than welcome to reply, and we'll have an open debate about it.
Right, moving on to viewers' mailbag then. So talking about comments, I picked out a couple of comments, as I always do, from now on. New segment in the show.
The viewers' mailbag?
Yeah.
Oh, mailbag, sorry.
Mailbag, yeah. First one from Matt Butler, 7087. And following on from that Andy Maisie interview, he basically said, I went to my first Hornets game last week as part of Project 1500, which we spoke about in last week's show. I was contacted and I'm a supporter of Rochdale AFC. Really enjoyed it. Hornets made 2 new fans. Looking forward to more games and spreading the word up in Rossendale. So
yeah, that's awesome, isn't it? That's good to see, and proof that what the club is doing is working, and not only is he enjoying the day at the rugby, but Rochdale are flying high at the minute. I think they're second in the table at the minute, so yeah, going to watch some great rugby as well. Yeah,
and just the fact there's 2 fans, and also, you know, obviously he's a supporter of Rochdale AFC, and but he's watching the Rugby League Outsiders, you know, so maybe the whole sport has generated 2 new fans as well as that club.
Yeah, it's awesome, isn't it?
I think it's just a real good feel good story, you know, and a good tick from the comments there on the video.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah.
Right, moving on then. So from Kevin Worrell. So we spoke about going to.
I've heard that name
Warrington
before, Kevin.
Yeah. So anyway, what Kev said is he said you was on about getting me racing the wire flyer, which that would be.
I can't believe you keep going on about it every time I see you. Like, I'm in breakfast. I could beat the wire flyer, me, and all the rest of it.
Mate, that is not what he said. You're just literally building this up. But anyway, so we mentioned the wire flyer. And I mean, that'd be a disaster. I'm not built for speed at all. Kev said, and this is interesting, he really caught my eye. He said, "Is Kevin Penny the wire flyer?" Maybe. And then thinking, and I was like, holy shit.
Oh, well, maybe Penny was fast, wasn't he?
Oh, do you know not fast?
It's not just that. You know, I think he's onto something there. He's a very similar build. This guy, the green morph man. Right? Yeah. We're nailing it to the mast.
What we're saying that we think it is.
Yeah, I think it is.
Right. Okay. If anyone's got any information on this, right? Who is the wire flyer? Because we want to start this.
Has anyone seen Kevin Penny knocking up at Warrington with a duffel bag under his arm that might have a green suit in?
Yeah, or maybe you never see the wire flyer and Kevin Penny in the same room.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or you know, the wife suddenly found like a green morph suit in his laundry bag.
This is like the Rugby League Banksy, this, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It is.
We can get behind this.
Yeah, so if it's Kevin Penny, I'm definitely not.
He definitely was fast, wasn't he?
Oh, mate.
How old do you reckon he is though now?
I don't think he's as old as you. Because you're knocking on a bit, aren't you? I mean, your eyesight's going into it and all that. So, I don't know. I mean, quick Wikipedia search would work out that. But anyway, it fits the shape, you know.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, you heard it here first.
I'm convinced, Kevin. You're onto something there, mate. Definitely.
Right. I
bet he's got inside information. I bet he knows.
Maybe Kevin Worrell is Kevin Penny in disguise.
It could be the wire flyer, couldn't it?
We're going down a rabbit hole here, aren't we? Anyway, let's move on. Another little announcement. Got lots more stories from outside the Heartlands and Super League. If that's your thing, so make sure you subscribe so you never miss an episode. All right, we're really working hard to get the subscribers up, and you've got a championship show coming this week as well, Cal.
Yes, myself and Mark Austin, we did a bit of a trial one about 5 weeks ago just to see how it'd go and if people wanted to see more of that sort of thing. And we've had a lot of comments saying that they want more championship news. So we're going to deliver on that, Craig. We're going to look back at the past month in the championship, which has actually been so tight, incredible. So we've actually got a bit of that on this show as well today.
Yeah, as has a few leagues. Midlands Hurricanes, top of the league right now. Amazing. Who would have predicted that not long ago? That's big news.
Beat Keighley, didn't they, in their own backyard?
Yeah, so make sure you subscribe so you don't miss any of the future content. Tackle 3. So with Salford's place in the Super League perhaps in jeopardy, there's a load of clubs that are baying to be involved in the Super League next year. Just think about the standard in the Championship, and there's everything to fight for, and it's made for a really interesting start to the season. Carl, you've got some Championship results for us.
Yeah, I thought I'd go through the results and we'll just have a little bit of a chat about how the Championship season is going. I tell you what, mate, you cannot predict a single game in this championship this year. It's all over the place. And there's the two sides, well, certainly one side that are at the top of the table, I wouldn't have predicted it be there. Right, so the results from this week are as follows. Batley 10, York 23. Straight away, that one was a surprise. York had not won a game this season. Bottom of the table, which I wouldn't have expected at the start of the year. Batley had been flying high. York turned them over on that hill. Donny 26, Widnes 16, so another bit of a shock result. Widnes have been flying all season. Halifax 38, Featherstone 12, massive win for Halifax, bit more on them in a minute. Oldham, although they'd lost earlier on in the season, which surprised me a little bit, absolutely took London to the cleaners, 50 points to 6. Toulouse the same, 50 points to 6 over Hunslet. And then Bradford Bulls 8, Barrow 18. I didn't see that one coming. I mean, Barrow,
flying.
They're absolutely flying, and you should say on paper that Bradford side shouldn't lose to Barrow, but they did. Barrow of quality value for money at the minute. So we got as follows: Halifax currently top of the table, unbeaten. I would not have predicted that at the start of the season. I watched them against Catalan. The reason I say that, they've got a really small squad of Halifax, literally not much bigger than the 18 that they're putting out on the field every week. To see them at the top of the table, it does surprise me, but they're playing real quality rugby league. I think as the season continues, if they pick up injuries, you might see them drop down. Toulouse, as we would have thought, are flying. Barrow is currently third on 6 points, the joint second on 6 points, and Widnes are fourth in the table. So, yeah.
Incredible. I mean, we spoke before the season kicked off, and Bradford have recruited really well, and we thought, right, Bradford are making waves and they're really going to go for it. They're real contenders this year, not even in the top 4.
No, flatlining. Massively, they're just not at the races. They're underwhelming, I think. I don't think they've got the half-back pairing sorted. I mean, I don't want to talk about Bradford too much. They're just Halifax. How good is that to see Halifax at the top of the table?
Yeah, and imagine if they got themselves into Super League next year. That'd be.
Playing at Ken Davies, the share.
Huddersfield.
I put a tweet out last week. And it didn't go down very well.
What did you say?
I said, would it be a big surprise if in the next 12 to 18 months we saw a merger between Halifax and Huddersfield?
Oh,
yeah.
Ooh.
Touched the nerve
with
a few. Neither side have got massive fan bases, right? To me, it makes sense. Ken Davies is going to invest in the share, get the share up to a decent standard. It's already a nice ground, in all fairness. Definitely needs a new pitch. I just could kind of see that working, but it won't happen. No. In my little head, I was like, I could kind of see that working. But then if somebody said to me, "Oh yeah, Bradford and Leeds should merge," it's like, no, we're not. And I get why, like, people in Cumbria say, like, with Workington and Barrow and Whitehaven and all the rest of it. Yeah, it's not going to work, is it?
Right, I'm going to give you 3 or 4 words. Is that a good idea or a bad idea? Don't hold back, with comments like that. So Huddersfield, obviously, they're expected to be there to about 2028, I think. And by that time, their stadium would have been created.
Yeah, but they haven't found anywhere to build it yet, from all accounts. Back to Fartown. What's at Fartown these days?
Nothing. It's just desolate. I think the clock tower's there. There's a few weeds and what have you, but
is the pitch still there? Or is it like been turned into houses or something?
No, it's not. It's not houses. It's literally.
It's still there.
Yeah, it's literally like just a meadow, like a grassland derelict meadow. There's a couple of videos on YouTube where people go back to Fartown, and there's like the old containers are there where the tackle bags were stored, and you know what I mean, because it was a big open space. Obviously, the cricket ground. Yeah. Where we used to. We may or may not have done like donuts and that kind of stuff, and rallied the cars round. And in fact, the pitch was massive, massive. There's like a 16-year-old running around that pitch. We remember when we had Summers shorts on and all that. It's just like
about that story.
It was a massive pit, like huge.
It just never had any parking near it though, if I remember right. It was like really hard to park around that stadium.
Yeah, you had to park around the cricket ground. Yeah. But anyway, maybe they'll go back there. So, do you think moving out of the what do they call it now, the John Smith Stadium or whatever?
The John Smith McAlpine.
Do you think it was a good move or?
Yeah. They're not filling it. I mean, they're not even getting close to filling it out there. It's a top-notch facility, and you want Super League to be played in the best stadiums you can. But it doesn't really work for Huddersfield, does it? I mean, they don't have the atmosphere. There's no atmosphere at the ground because it can only really fill sort of one stand. So yeah, I think it's probably. I mean, they need a stadium like York, don't they? Like a boutique style, custom made for them stadium. I mean, it'd be great to have another rugby league ground as well, purpose built for Huddersfield.
Yeah, we got well off topic there, didn't we? We started talking about championship results and end up with Huddersfield, but
Huddersfax Panthers.
Yeah, that's what you said. What should it be called? Huddersfax Panthers.
Coming to a stadium near you in 2028.
Right, moving on then. Tackle 4. We're just going to do like our weekly community check-in this week with the women's game.
We had a look at the Midlands divisions last week. This time I thought we'd look at the Women's Championship, which is the tier underneath the Women's Super League. It's gone through a little bit of a restructure this year. So last year we had a Northern Championship and a Southern Championship. They kind of brought them all together this year. The best sides from the Southern Championship, which were London and Cardiff, have moved into the Northern Championship. So I just thought I'd go through all the teams that are in this, just for anybody that don't know. So the Women's Championship this year is made of Featherstone Rovers, Ulton Raidettes, Salford Red Devils, Cardiff Demons, London Broncos, Bradford Bulls, Hull KR, Swinton Lions, Castleford Tigers, Sheffield Eagles and Hull FC. And I've got some results from this week as well, Craig. So, Featherstone, big win against Hull FC, 40 points to 0. Ulton beat Cass 16 points to 8. Salford 12, Sheffield 4. But the game of the round was the two sides from the south who've entered into the division. It was London 22 and Cardiff 22. What an absolute cracker that game was.
Yeah, and another draw. They seemed to get a lot more draws, as pitched by the Sniper earlier in the season. Interesting, like we was at that game, weren't we, last year between London and Leigh. And what an humdinger that was.
It was the promotional playoff, wasn't it, between London and Leigh? And yeah, what a cracker it was. It was real high-intensity rugby. Leigh obviously got promoted on the back of that. And it'll be great to see how this division goes this year. And I'm really interested to see how this north-south mix goes this year. Because I think London and Cardiff have wanted to get into that, to be playing stronger teams week in, week out. So we'll really get to see how they're going to go this year. Yeah,
and we've said that in the women's game, there's so many opportunities available for these women and girls because they're in so much the depth, of history, of legacy within women's rugby league. Like in the men's game, you could argue that North would perhaps be better than the South because it's been played up there much longer. Women's games is much more of a level playing field.
Yeah.
So now it boils down to like who's working the hardest, who's getting coached the best, who's got the most resources, and that's going to dictate who's at the top of the sport. So it really is open for this North-South, competition.
Yeah, I had a little bit of a match report sent in by Colin Baker, who's the head coach of London Broncos. So there were 3 tries by Nicole Kennedy and Becky Smart also scored. It was 22 points to 6 to London at half-time, but Cardiff came all guns blazing in the second half and it ended up 22 apiece. I think both sides had opportunities to win the game, but it ended in a draw. So, yeah.
As you can see, we cover lots of different stories within rugby league, and in order to do that, we do lots of research, lots of digging, and it takes a lot of our time. One of the ways that you can help to maintain the standard that we produce is by joining the channel as a member. You'll see underneath these videos there is a button there that says join, and for just a few quid you can join, get a few different perks, get a little bit of recognition for being a super fan, etc. All right, and it helps us create this content and do more and more of what you're enjoying. So check that out. Also, you get priority replies in the comments. We're getting to the point now where we are struggling with the amount of comments that are coming through. It's almost like a full-time job. So, and that's probably where your eye strain's coming from.
I don't know what you're on about, mate. I don't know what you're on about. I think my missus thinks it is a full-time job, actually. It's like I'm literally spending every night now doing something with the Outsiders, yeah. But I love it, so keep rolling.
Right, tackle 5 and time to check in with our tame NRL tipster, the Sniper. We had some torrential rain this week, both down in the southern hemisphere and in the north of England, and some say that is because the Sniper was crying with joy with the amount of tips that he made that was successful this week.
Right, Sniper, another week of NRL footy. How did your week go?
Our week was really, really good. We backed a massive 35 points. We had a massive favour from Tavita Pangai Jr. We had him to score the first try.
Yeah.
That was 50-1.
Oof.
We had him to score at any time as well. That was 9-1. And then we had about 8 or 9 other winners. So we had a massive week. I think we returned 76% profit and 35 points. So that's our biggest weekend of the year so far. Granted, it's only been 3 weeks, but yeah, some really, really good stuff there for anyone new that's joined or for anyone that's thinking of joining. We cover all sorts of different odds. It's not just favourites or outsiders. It's a big blend. So check us out, guys. It's all in the description.
Well, I had a little bit of a windfall as well. So you gave us a little tip last week and sort of said, the green Irish bookies, and I was like, right, okay, I know what that is. Worked it out, logged in, £18 in there that I just didn't know was there. So, and to a Yorkshireman, that's incredible.
Wow, that's pretty cool. Did you put it on paying half? Because the only show where you'll find a crazy suggestion like this, a Ramadan bet, is Rugby League Outsiders. You're not going to have that anywhere else, guys. Whatever other rugby league show you're listening to, you won't get the madness of a Ramadan paying half bet that lands, and it landed with gusto as well. Did you see his performance?
Yes, mate. Yeah, he absolutely hit the ball like an absolute rocket, didn't he, for his try?
He was undefendable. You couldn't even, and no one could get near him. And that's the power of him during Ramadan. I mean, we've seen this over a number of years. So hopefully the listeners and the viewers did have a little bit on him. We've been pushing it over the last 2 or 3 weeks. Said probably the time to do it is against the Cowboys because they've got a weak middle. Then bang, he almost even scored last. I think he scored second last. So yeah, what a beast.
Just want to ask you, the NRL round just gone. What did you make of it? There's a couple of headlines at the minute. Cherry Evans from Manly possibly on his way. What do you make of that? And then obviously the Raiders fell in spectacular fashion this weekend as well.
Yeah, so for DCE, for Cherry Evans, I think it's just negotiations. I think that's gone out there so that they can offer him a better deal and make sure that he stays.
Right.
They can't possibly let him leave. If I were them, I'd be building a statue of him at Brookvale. He would have GOAT status, legend status, all the bells and whistles. You can't let the heartbeat of your team leave. he's arguably more important to them than Tommy Turbo. So, yeah, their win rate goes down to something like 25% when he and Turbo aren't playing. So, yeah, can't see it happening. I think that's just press. I think it's spin, and we won't see him go anywhere.
Yeah, so I mean, it was in doubt, wasn't it, this weekend, whether he was going to play or not? Because it looked like he might have picked up an injury up last week, but yeah, it was on fire again. Now, the other question was just the Raiders, Canberra Raiders. They've been flying high all season, but they dropped to spectacular fashion this week. Just wondered what you made of their game.
I thought the referee was heavily in favour of Manly at Brookvale. And this is another theme, guys. If you'll watch the NRL regularly, you'll know that backing against Manly at Brookvale is a lost leader.
Yeah.
And it's a sure way to the poorhouse. So that early decision to cancel the Sebastian Chris try, I thought was horrific, tenuous, incompetent, whatever word you want to attach to that. I thought it was a shocker. And if they do start off on the right foot with Sebastian Chris getting that early try, then potentially it's a different game. So, yeah, I thought they were poor, but the Raiders can do that. Sometimes they look like world beaters. Then, they'll go away somewhere to like Melbourne and beat Melbourne. Other times they'll just be poor in possession, have a 3 out of 10 game from nowhere. And that's some of the issues with these middling teams that you see. Similar to what you see with Newcastle, the Knights. Again, they had an average sort of 4 out of 10 performance. Ponga was anonymous. Sharp was too selfish, trying to do things himself. That's the issue that you have in that sort of mid-table to sort of lower table, bottom of the 8 team that you're looking at.
And then I suppose
Manly were good.
Yeah, the last game I'll just touch on with you. The Panthers and the Storm was the big game you wanted us to look forward to last week. It went right down to the wire. Cleary's now potentially out for a couple of weeks. What did you make of the match?
Again, I thought early in the match they were giving Panthers decisions that shouldn't have been given, and this tends to happen with the Panthers. Melbourne started really well. I think they were 12-0 up, cruising towards half-time.
Yeah.
Panthers stage a comeback. It ends up very, very close at half-time. I think it was a 4-point gap, maybe even a 2-point gap. I can't remember exactly. And then the weather turned and it started raining. Panthers were playing wet weather football. The Storm forgot how to play wet weather football. Cleary goes careering like a cannonball into Jerome Hughes, almost knocks himself out. He's got to come off for an HIA, and he breaks Jerome Hughes' hand. So the game flips, literally, and it becomes a little bit bitty. Melbourne were hanging on for most of the time. Pappenhausen looked like he'd injured himself again, so was playing at maybe 70%. He was fairly quiet. And the Panthers staged a really, really good comeback towards the end. And Brian Toto looks even better than ever. So I think he's taken his game up another level as well. He's the best winger in the NRL, probably by a street. And he's gone up another level. So that's something to watch, for sure.
Yeah, it was a great game. It's surprising to see the Panthers down in 12th at this time in the season. Should we move on to this week then? Round 4. Is it round 4? Yeah, round 4 in it this week. The big game that you've selected this week is the Dolphins versus the Broncos. Local derby. I mean, the Broncos had a local rivalry, didn't they? Just gone against Queensland, but the Dolphins roll into town this week. The Dolphins are winless though.
Yeah, they're winless under Christian Wolf. What a game, guys! This is huge. So we've seen Wayne Bennett leave. The Dolphins are struggling. Hamaso Tabuai-Fidow, the Hammer, looks disinterested. He looks like he doesn't want to be there.
Yeah.
Could there be a move back to the Cowboys? We think that may happen over the course of this season or potentially being signed next season. They're playing players out of position. You've got Max Plath, who's probably going to get called up into Origin, playing on an edge. He's not an edge back rower. He's a middle. That's where they should be playing him. Herbie's been 60% up until now. They've been playing players on the wrong side. It's been a complete shambles. And they fell apart against the Tigers this weekend, embarrassingly. Now, the noisy neighbours come to town and they're stacked. I thought they were really professional this week against the Cowboys. It was a local derby. The blowout that many people were expecting didn't happen. We were on the Broncos to win by 1-12. That did happen, which was great. But Reece Walsh, have you seen the state of Reece Walsh so far this season?
Yeah, he's not on it, is he?
No.
He's a bit of a shadow of the player he was last season.
It seems like Mad just tried to put a lid on him and said, look, don't play these crazy cutout balls. We don't need you to be hitting Hollywood passes, knocking balls out of the park every single week. Try and be a steady Eddie. And I think he's having trouble adapting to that non-Maverick role.
Is he still painting his nails,
he's been a bit on the... Well, I haven't checked yet. Either he's painting his nails or he'll get nervous. He'll get nervous in this derby and vomit into the KFC bucket behind the goal. Maybe you want to try and find some odds for that, guys.
Great bit of sponsorship there.
Yeah, no doubt he'll come good soon, but when, it's not easy to say.
Okay, so if we just move from NRL, really exciting fixture.
I think we might have we got a tip on this?
Oh, all right, okay. Yep, sorry.
Have you got a tip on this, Sniper?
Yeah, I do.
Right, okay. Tee that up then, Craig.
Okay, so something that makes the game even more exciting to watch is the Sniper's hot tip for this week. So what have you got?
Right, guys. So Adam Reynolds has been looking sensational the last few weeks.
Agree.
He had 4 try assists at the weekend. Who's coming back this week to play in the local derby? Katoni Staggs. Who's going to be playing off Reynolds' right shoulder? Katoni Staggs. So, the tip for this week is Katoni Staggs, anytime try scorer. We'll expect him to be around the 2-1 mark. You probably want to take this when it opens, as soon as you see the odds, guys, because that will be good value. And he loves scoring against the Dolphins. If you remember that celebration a couple of years ago when he said, "This is our house,"
all right,
he came out firing. So for sure, this will be their house. The Dolphins are in tatters. Potentially, it's a wet weather game, so be careful with the schools, guys. I wouldn't be dabbling in schools in a wet weather local derby. Just back to Tony, bring home the bacon. This will be their house.
Right, and we'll check in with you next week, then see how that went.
Could we just bring your attention to the Super League now? And there's a former NRL player that started the season on fire, but seems to have gone a little bit missing. And that is David Armstrong. What is your take on his performance so far?
Yeah, looking back at yesterday's game or the game over the course of last weekend against Hull KR, he looked nervous. He looked like a rabbit in the headlights. And I think the issue is confidence. So he's come over from Newcastle. When he was at Newcastle, he only played a handful of games, but he had a massive pack in front of him with people like Tyson Frizzell and so many others. So they protected him. The issue now is Lee have got quite a few outs in their pack. Their pack looks light and makeshift, and he's not getting the cover from the forwards that he expects or, will give him the freedom to express himself. So he's been getting ragdolled. He's been losing meters. He looks lightweight. I think he really needs to beef up. He's got to get the strength and conditioning in. And he's being intimidated by the big English forwards. That's my personal take on it. What do you think, guys?
Well, I thought he started the season on fire. I think it was a breath of fresh air that there was a new fullback on the scene. It looked lighter than probably a lot of players that we have in Super League. So a lot of players in Super League now have similar builds. Yeah, I thought he looked lighter, but I thought he looked agile, quick. He was breaking through loads of gaps. But yeah, I have to agree with you. At the weekend, he looked intimidated coming out of back play. He just didn't look like he could break a line. But I suppose the whole Lee performance wasn't quite what we've come to expect from Lee the last couple of weeks. So I think he's one to keep an eye on, really.
Yeah, he also looked slightly nervous under the high ball. I think there were a couple of fumbles a couple of weeks ago. So again, I think if he was confident and flying, he wouldn't look. You can see it on his face. You wouldn't expect that of him at all. But I think when the weather does improve, you've got a dry track. He will score a hat-trick this season for sure. I'll tell you that now. And he is a gun player. So I think they just need to work on their combinations. And the other thing is you've got Tessie New on the wing. Okay, he's great when they've got good ball and he's making tough carries and he's a good finisher. But he is a liability in defence. I can tell you that now. That's why the Dolphins let him go. So just keep an eye on Lee.
Right.
You know, it was a bit concerning yesterday.
Well, we're going to watch him this weekend, so we'll report back next week. Cheers, Sniper. Thanks for checking in, mate.
Cheers, guys.
See you later.
Good to speak.
Take care. Tackle number 6 then, and the Williams Weekly. The rugby league world is awash with the apparent demise of the sport, and the old Salford situation, and to name one, perhaps the creation of an independent strategic workforce to complete this review, a game-wide review.
A coup.
Call it a coup if you want. But this week we had 2 high-profile personalities take a bit of a different stance on that. Obviously, I'm talking about Matt Peet, Ryan Hall. Matt Peet, eloquent. I love the way that people ask Matt Peet a question. He's not rushed. He thinks about it.
Yeah.
You know, he's gathered. He thinks about it. All right, and then he delivers. Okay, and this is what it is. It's like pause, speak. Right. So that's when you ask a question, like pause the question, pause, then speak. Right. Okay, and that's what he does.
Yeah.
Whereas so many people go pause, speak, think.
Yeah, like me.
Well, a little bit. I think we're all guilty of that.
Speak and then go, I shouldn't have said that. Or just put a tweet out, I shouldn't have done that. delete. Yeah. I thought, I always enjoyed listening to Matt Peet, actually. He speaks so well, doesn't he? And hearing him deliver what he did at the game at the weekend was really, well, it was the complete opposite to the Eamon McManus statement. It was very professionally done. He didn't throw anybody under the bus. He gave his opinion I thought it was, I just thought it was really good how he spoke and how he delivered it in a professional manner. And then he spoke about how we should be acting as professionals and things, like I said earlier, stuff should stay behind closed doors.
He called for collaboration. That's the message he said he acknowledged that there were smart people in the game. There were smart people in the boardrooms, around the board tables. You know, we've got enough knowledge to make this work and to solve all these problems, but we're not. And I liken it. Here's a little story. You know, I love my little analogies and what have you. You know, but if you got like spiders and wasps in a jar, right? They get on and they're fine. And then someone comes along and shakes the jar, and then the spiders think it's the wasps, and they bite the wasps, and the wasps think it's the spiders, and they sting the spiders, and everyone's freaking dead, right? And the person that's caused the problem is the person shaking the jar. That is Eamon McManus.
Yeah.
Right. Now, what Matt Peet has said is he wants collaboration. He wants the bright minds of the game. They're like, Carl Fitzpatrick, Chris Radlinski. Yeah. You know, we had championship clubs as well with
Andy Maisie.
And Andy Maisie, you know, all these people, the bright minds of the game. Let's get together. Let's give the information that Nigel Wood, whether he's right, whether he's wrong, whether you like him, whether you don't like him, whether you can't get past 2018, okay, put that aside and let's collaborate. And that's what Matt Peet was saying in a very, very eloquent manner. And then it was backed up by Ryan Hall, you know. It was kind of saying, you know, a similar kind of thing. He almost challenged the players to keep doing what they're doing, because there's such a wonderful sport where you've got a team that we thought was going to run away with it this year, in Wigan Warriors. You know, they got all 4 trophies last year. Okay, now they're out of the cup already, so that ain't happening again. You know, turned over by Leeds, who was a mid-table team, if they're lucky, you know, on some weeks, and it made for a real interesting game. And he said, look, players, concentrate on turning out a great product on the pitch. You know what I mean? And then Matt Peet's back, he sort of led with, let's collaborate, you know, and sort this game out. Instead of infighting and all this kind of stuff, get everybody working in the same direction.
Yeah, and there's clearly something a lot bigger than what we know going on. I think if did you listen to what Brian Carney said? He sort of said it's something along the lines of, like, what happened in 1995 when there was this breakaway and split and all the arguing. He said, That's nothing compared to what's coming downstream this later on this year. So I feel like there's some monumental change about to happen in rugby league in the next 12 months. And that's backed up by, if you've read any of Steve Mascord's articles recently, he's basically saying the NRL won't deal with the new regime under Nigel Wood and people like that because of how things have gone before. I don't know. Could we see a breakaway happening?
Well, I think there's a three obvious courses of action. So there's like a breakaway league, if you like, or a breakaway governing body that's aligned with NRL. A complete NRL takeover is perhaps another course of action. And then certainly ditching IMG, and then any combination of the three.
Yeah, and then we'll have the whole promotion and relegation debate will rear its head again because that's on a 2-year cycle, isn't it, pretty much? It's just not good for the game, is it? And none of it's good. I mean, I felt like we were in a positive place going into the start of this season. Clearly we weren't.
Karl, what has to happen in your mind? Like, let's fast forward, let's say 3 months, give ourselves, I know it's a rushed timeline, but an half-decent timeline. What has to happen in 3 months for you to go, do you know what? I might not agree with some of these decisions, but I'm backing it. I'm going with it.
Well, first of all, the main one is they've got to get more money into the game. So that's the biggest thing that all the chairmen they're not happy about.
To put in, sorry, but do you think this is the one thing Nigel Wood's got going for him, that he's done it in the past?
Well, yeah, he has done it in the past, hasn't he? I mean, his record does prove that he brought in one of the biggest ever Super League deals with Sky TV. So I think that's going to be the big answer. That's what everybody wants. He's got to land a bigger TV deal, whether that's with Sky or it's with Netflix or I want to see something radical happen. I do, like literally they get a deal with Netflix or something and they go on a different course to what they're going with Sky Sports, or they open it up to a number of different TV companies, or they've got to get some money into the game.
And then obviously hand in hand with that, if there's like a different media deal, you're breaking away from that traditional media format, the Sky TV, which was radical in 1995.
Yeah, but it's not anymore, is it?
It's not anymore. And BBC, well, I'm sorry. I mean, I have no interest in BBC promoting our sport. They do a terrible job. They don't believe in it. Not one bit.
There's a reason that nobody's paying the TV licenses these days, isn't there? I mean, yeah, will BBC still exist in another 10 years' time? It's hard to say.
Yeah. Right.
The other one, if I know you talked about radical changes, I'd be 100% behind the NRL coming in and going, right, we're just taking over now. And they put a deal on the table. It's too good for Super League and RFL to turn down and hand the reins to the NRL. And basically, I think, take a lot of power away from the clubs and just have one guy like Peter Vlandis going, right, this is how we're running the sport. We've got a track record, proven track record. This is what we're doing. I
suppose there's many facets to this as well, because there's also the grassroots game, the lower leagues. It's not just about Super League as well, is it? So,
no.
Like what needs to happen for them as well? I would just like a bit more support, not necessarily like financial support, but just get, like Matt Pete said, collaboration. You know what I mean? Just like we've seen tournaments in the Midlands where they don't even get a trophy. Winners don't even get a medal, and it's just. There's not even an RFL representative.
It's all it's all to do with money, isn't it?
Yeah.
Sadly, it is all to do with money, and the money can only go so far, and the governing body can only do so much with what it's got. And I suppose the big thing for rugby league in this country is a TV deal, so a lot of it hinders on that.
But we're not the only poor sport in the country. And the rule is that, if you're ever asking for more resources, right, it's not the fact that you've not got the resources that matters. It's a lack of resourcefulness, and I think there's times when we can be a little bit more resourceful. There's times when, we've almost acted as, not as a representative for the RFL, but we've gone and covered a game because it just felt the right thing to do, and we knew the RFL wouldn't do it. The likes of Oxford, Cambridge last year.
Yeah, you've got make a really good point. Actually.
And we saw a thing with that when the NRL went out to Vegas. They put out a thing. Was it NRL or was it American football? And they basically said, right, local videographers and, we're going to run a competition.
Yeah, it was the NRL that did that, yeah. Calling all YouTubers, podcasters, whatever, filmographers, we want you involved in the sport.
Make a promo video.
Yeah, basically make an application to us of what you're going to do. And to try to get as many people in as possible. Yeah,
and it's like, so then you're using the other resources, and then give them a couple of tickets for the game or announce them as official partners for the promo or include them in the launch or whatever. But, start pulling in some of those resources because there's lots of avid fans and there's lots of skills out there, and just with a little bit of, I'm happy. Carl, pass me a notebook, right? I want to show this on camera. I'm happy every year when I get that. We're into the launch. We've got an RFL notebook. I was like, nice one. I'll do this podcast again for another 12 months. You know what I mean? Give me a pen. Give me a thing. And sometimes just being a little bit resourceful can help. Of course, we need millions and millions, you know what I mean, to run the sport, of course, But on the grassroots, we could just be a little bit more resourceful. Yeah, I know we can.
I'd love to see development officers come. I know we're going off on a complete tangent here. I'd love to see development officers back at the community level because I think they were very important. They helped drive the game forward at the bottom level.
Yeah, that aren't too stretched.
Yeah, and it doesn't cost a fortune, that. Really, does it? A couple of development officers up and down the country make a huge difference.
Yeah, but you think about like our regional development officer, Guana, and he's so stretched. He literally covers the whole of the south.
That's what I mean. You need more. I think there's probably about 2 in the whole country, one for the north and one for the south. And the Midlands is somewhere in the middle. You need 8 development officers, don't you, really, up and down the country, all with a different area, getting it into schools, helping promote the sport. That's my opinion. Not that it's worth much.
Right. What a great show it's been this week, Carl. Carl, just fill us in what's coming up in the next couple of weeks.
Well, our prediction show is already live, so if you haven't checked out our Super League predictions, get involved in that. That's getting huge traction at the minute. And we're also going to Lee this week. Can't wait for that. Leopard print at the ready. We're going to take in the greatest show in Super League. We're going to take in everything that's going on around Lee and the ground, the game day experience.
Anyway, we won't bore you any longer. If you're at Lee, give us a shout, say hello. We'd love to have a chat with you. Until the next video, take care.